All right, Ty, who brings you in today?
So mainly like the same stuff that we've been talking about for the past couple of sessions. Um, Mostly work, still kind of the same. My boss is still doing the same thing pretty much. Still being, I guess, because of the pandemic, we
Mm-hmm.
are still like having trouble with contacting clients and not being able to get them on the phone. So it's kind of making our services a little harder to complete. So with that being said, she's trying to be a little stern on us, and not really like understanding that by our services being more face-to-face interaction, and with the kids having such intense situations that they're referred to our program for, in order for us to prevent them from going into like the judicial system or like the jail. um it's kind of hard to work with them. Like I have a client, for instance, she's like a 14-year-old girl, and she normally had some issues with her dad, and she's like a runaway. So the last time that she did end up running away, she got caught in a crossfire, and she got shot. And so it's kind of hard to actually deal with that on the phone, because to the child it could seem like I'm just calling to check in, how you doing, what's your progress. But it's like, yes, I'm working on services with her, trying to help her, do like coping mechanisms and things like that. And we can do role play, but it's not like we're doing telehealth or like counseling or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different. It's not really like effective. So it kind of makes you feel like you're not actually there to help the child um in that situation. So when you're calling their parents and you're trying to complete the services over the phone, it's like, well, is this service really beneficial?
Right.
And with nonprofits, they need the interaction and the face-to-face, and interaction with the child in order to be more productive. When you're doing it over the phone, it's like they want to exit the services at the moment, because it's like, okay, are you being nosy? Are you really there to help? So she makes it kind of like hard when it comes to those things. And when you're not able to get in contact with them, you can't really do a service plan, or you can't really like do a legit note on them saying that you actually spoke with them. So then that it's like a disservice to the client, and they eventually fall out of service.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wish that she could be very understanding. So something that I kind of considered is maybe I would look for another job, because it's very like on her end, it's like a high demand for her to get the paperwork done, but it's not really like a concern for her to actually care if the children are actually benefiting from the services. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And for me, I would want the child to benefit from the services. So I don't want them to fall out of services, because I feel like they need the services, but it's just the unfortunate situation that we're in. We can't do that.
Right.
Um,
Because one of the things that I had talked to you about last time was looking at the overall picture to see who was it affecting long term. You know, you were doing a job for the children and things like that.
mhm.
And did you offer to help her? Because I know that we had talked about that at one time, and you said, well, it kind of trickles down to everybody else too.
Offer to help her, would help my boss.
Yeah.
Well, by her being a supervisor, I just thought that she would, kind of already have that under control, because she is the supervisor. So, I didn't really reach out to her. I mean, at my program that she's over, it's really like three of us, but because another guy decided to resign, and he had about seven people, um, she actually switched with us, and so we have another standing supervisor for the time being because we're not going to be moving back into the office until August sometime.
Hmm.
So, it's still going to be hard to work with these kids. Then they're going to be getting ready to go back to school. And it's like, okay, over the summer, they're really being idle because they're just sitting at home. So with them sitting at home and they're waiting for a phone call, they don't feel like they have to necessarily like pick up the phone because I mean the kids are on break. So with them being referred to our services for like um school reasons, like school behavior, anything like that, where they aren't going to class, they rather play video games at home than to make it to school on time. Like these are a lot of the main things that, we're working with the kids. And it's like there's no structure or anything like that. So for me to kind of say, okay, well, supervisor, we need to come up with a plan where we can, maybe have a packet or something for us to work on with the kids. I just feel like it's going above and beyond my job to help her to do hers because logically you would kind of like put something in place, in order to better assist the kids. It's like I can call them, but what's the purpose of just doing that?
Right.
So I haven't really thought about, trying to call. I meant trying to, help her to do those types of things because we were having weekly meetings when we did supervision and she would check in with us and say, you know, um, how's this client? It's like, okay, well, this is going on with this client and this is going on with this client, but I haven't talked to this one, and this one. And then she's like, okay, well, what's the number? And then I'll give her the number. And then she's just like, okay, I'm going to contact them. And a couple of days later, she's like, hey, have you heard from such and such family? And did you send me those numbers? And I'm like, I screenshot it and I sent it to you or I emailed it to you. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go back and check it. But she's also busier with the other program too, with the 7 individuals, that she acquired. But I still feel like if you are my primary supervisor, that you should still make sure that we are well taken care of because at the end of the day, everybody's job is still on the line.
Yeah.
So, if it's just like no support there from her, and I did kind of bring that up to her on last week when we talked because I clocked in at 8 o'clock. She called me at 8 o'clock and she was like, oh, I found out we had to do this other form for the program. Mind you, my program started in November, and I'm still, pretty new over there. I've been there probably like 6 months now with all of this, but I was there for like 2.5 months before all of this started.
Hmm.
And she was just like, oh, we have to do this, and we have to go back to January, and we have to put the numbers in. And this is like 8 o'clock. I'm just clocking on, and this is the first task of the day for us to go back all the way to January to do something, and I still have to be contacting my clients. And then it was a Friday. So on Fridays, we still have to do like a weekly update on all the clients. And we have to update our service plans and we have to enter the notes and stuff. So it's like she's piling everything on us because everything's falling back on her. Whereas like, okay, if you call me and say, well, Taisha, could you give me a time, for us to work on where we can, sit down and do these numbers together, especially by you being new, so you can get like an idea of how to do it. But for this first one, I'll do it for you so that you know how it's done because it's something that we need to get in right away. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But that's not how when it's like, okay, well, this is how this goes and this is how this goes, and you need to do it. So it's a very stressful, I wouldn't say environment because I'm working from home, but it's I don't know, I don't know. I She gives me really, really bad anxiety, and I never felt like I was like that. And it's not like she's micromanaging because it's very sloppy in a way.
Right. Not organized.
Yeah. So that for me just it kind of overwhelms me. And then some days I wake up and I'm like, I clock in for work and stuff, and it's like, all right, I'm hoping she doesn't call me today. And when she doesn't call, I'm like, yes, it's a great day. But when she does call, I know that I'm gonna have tons of work on top of my work. So I think that eventually with that, I would probably need to, just like move on and find another place, that will help me out, to give me that support that I need to, actually complete my job the way that it's supposed to be completed, because it just seems a little too unorganized, and I'm more of an organized person. So to not have everything like um told to me like in the beginning of the job, or like told, saying, okay, well, these are your expectations and this is what you have to do for each client, versus going back to January and having to do all of that work. It's just very stressful, very overwhelming, and it's really like pushing me to the point where I feel like I do need to find another job at some point.
Now, is it possible that when she gives you that stuff at the end of the day, just to kind of put it off a little bit and then complete what you need and then get back to it? Because that sounds like stuff that can be pushed off a little bit, even though it's from January, to just do what you need for the day, then do a little bit at a time, then get back to it. Would it be something to do like that?
Well, when she called on that Friday, she said it needed to be done then. And this was like the day after I had my consultation with the supervisor that's standing in for her. And I had to work on a treatment plan with her, and so we had other goals that we were working on, during that time, to make sure we're caught up with paperwork and everything. And then she calls and says, "Oh well, we have to do this right now." And it's like, you really threw a fork in everything, because I'm trying to make sure that all of my work, is completed. But I'm guessing because she was trying to cover her butt, she had to make sure that that paperwork was in at that time. And then I sent it to her, and she was like, well, she didn't respond when I sent it to her on Friday. And then first thing Monday morning, she's like, "Hey, Taisha, how are you? I hope you had a great weekend." She was like, "Do you mind sending over the reports from Friday?" And I was like, "I sent them to you already."
Hmm.
And she was like, "Oh, well, I didn't get it." And so, I mean, it was sent from my work email, and I went to my sent messages, and it was definitely sent. And I was like, okay, well, I'll forward it to you from my sent messages. And then when I forwarded to her, she said that she miraculously obtained the email. So I don't know.
That sounds exhausting and overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be, because it kind of makes you just want to like isolate yourself a little bit,
Mm,
because work, it could really take up a good part of your day, and it could just kind of like put you in a bad space, and then you just feel like you don't want to be bothered with outside individuals,
mhm.
and as a human being, I feel like, you need those things, because friends and family, like, those are things that make you happy and stuff. So to kind of balance it out, you need that. But when you're in like a bad mood, you don't want to go around people that, you can alter their mood when they are in a happy mood to hang out with you or see you or something like that, because you were dealing with something, because maybe your boss woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So it kind of changes your mood as a whole. So I just try to, do some journaling sometimes. When I'm on break, I'll do some journaling. I have a book that I recently bought, and was it it's called Be Happy. So it has like a lot of like mantras, that was called. And then it
Yeah.
has like a lot of just like positive expressions and thoughts and stuff for you to like write out what you're gonna do for the day and stuff. So I do that to try and help to balance it out.
Mhm.
Or listen to like meditation music and stuff. Um yeah, because I don't want her to put me in a bad place because, she's trying to make sure that her job is complete as well. So it's like I'm understanding because I know what's going on, but give me a break.
Right, but she's not hassling you at the same time. It's just she's asking you to do part of her work. It's just not she's not riding you all the time. It's just she just needs more done at the same time.
Um, I I, I think that it's hassling to me. Let's say for instance, today she called and um they're trying to so we have like we get like a maximum of 10 clients, and right now I have 8, and they recently sent the message out today saying that they were going to close 2 families because we haven't been able to get in contact with them since the intake. So um once the intake portion is completed, then we go to them and bring the consent portion to them. So once they get the consent portion, they are to fill that out, and then I go and pick it up as well. But we can't conduct any services without having their consent. And so, like, I have a client like that, and it's like, okay, I'm telling you, I haven't been able to contact them. I'm going to assume that my supervisor would assist me with maybe contacting them, or maybe us being on the phone together and like, okay, well, let's see, let's try to call them so that that I'm trying to reach out to them. And so today she called and they did like a report. The lady who refers them to us, um she was telling them that um the parent reported that they hadn't been able, to get in contact with me, or that they haven't heard from me. And so I'm really not used to your boss not having your side, especially when you're telling them that, and you've been telling them that you've had trouble getting in contact with them, and them not going the extra mile to actually, stay on the phone with you while you contacting them just to kind of verify everything. But I called the parent about 3 times back to back. They didn't answer. I called the child didn't answer. I sent the child a text message and say, okay, this is Miss Aisha from such and such. Give me a call back when you get this. So the child actually read the message, and this isn't the first time that I can see that they read the message because their read receipts on and didn't respond. I waited an hour and called back, and still didn't get a response from the parent. But the parent called back and asked the child, why aren't you answering the phone? And the child replied that they didn't know who I was. And the mom took the phone and was like, I mean, she's sending you the messages saying that this is Miss Aisha from such and such. How didn't you know who it was? And we had spoken on the phone. I had spoken to him like 2 times on the phone. He's a
Mhm.
new client that I just, obtained. So, um, I don't know. It's just like I said before, like really no support from higher up. And I had to call her and I'm like, okay, well, I did talk to them and this is what she told me. She's like, okay, well, we just have to make sure that we're doing it because, sometimes those parents will go and put you under the bus, you know, saying that you're not trying to contact them, but that's what the supervision is for. I'm telling you, that, okay, I haven't been able to reach this client. And as a supervisor, I'm expecting you to maybe be understanding or maybe sit down and try to contact them, which I've given her their number on several occasions
Mm-hmm.
for her, you know, saying that, oh, I'm going to call them and follow up. And she doesn't do it, but then she wants to come to you and say, you should be doing like what she doesn't say it like that, but you know, it's just you you just feel like your supervisor doesn't have your back in the end, you know. And as a worker, like you don't want to feel like you're not doing your job and you know putting your best foot forward because right now you can't really do anything. You can't show up at the client's house,
Right.
you know, because of the virus. We're not in the office, you know, right now, so it's difficult. All we are relying on is the phone calls.
Sounds like that's too many roadblocks and too many loose ends.
Hmm.
And you don't really have a support system, on your end either.
Hmm.
So what are the other options you think other than finding another job? You can't really go to higher ups unless you really have to.
At this point, really just for my sanity, I think that finding another job would be like the best decision.
Yeah.
Hmm. Especially with you know, school, um, and then we should be, you know, starting our practicum pretty soon. And with that, not hearing from your advisor, I I went on to like the Tavera portal that we have for my school, and I tried to look for locations to do my practicum, but in my city I didn't see any. So I'm, you know, stuck with just calling around and seeing what they have available. And you know, most places aren't really letting people in because
COVID.
yeah. So I mean, I'm not familiar with, you know, if I would be able to sit in on like a telehealth session or anything like that. I don't know the guidelines. And I just haven't really been able to get any feedback from, you know, the professors or, you know, only person I talked to is like my buddy from when I went to residency last year. So she kind of, you know, helps to guide me through things. And that was how, you know, I knew how to go on to that portal and try to figure out where I could, you know, maybe pick a site, but they didn't have any sites here in my state listed on there at all.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's overwhelming too. And it's like, you know, without having necessarily like a secure spot at the job because you don't know, you know, you feel like you're like incompetent as a employee. As an employee, you feel like you're incompetent. So, you know, you're like, okay, what am I gonna have this job for the long term when we go back, you know, or are you just
Hmm.
like, okay, we can't let anybody go because we're doing COVID, but it's like to me, and this could just be me being paranoid about, you know, everything. Because when I talk to my boss, sometimes, you know, it's like, okay, thank you for doing a good job, da da da. You know, everything is fine, but then it's like you need a million things for me to do. So I don't really know at this point, but I I don't know how the hours are gonna be with like doing practicum, you know, or like having to go to the sites and stuff, like if that's gonna be a conflict on my job with that and also paying a good bit out of pocket for school. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna leave the job and you know need to finish school. So it's like I got practicum, I got to think about the job, and it's like, okay, well now I have to find other sources of income. So
Yeah.
my life is very, very busy.
You're
I'm
definitely
just,
not alone with the COVID issue. There's a lot of people who feel the same way you do. Not
mhm,
necessarily the student part, but feeling like you can't really go places because of the COVID. And not being
right.
able to get out and do things and employment issues with that. There's a lot of people who have applied for jobs and they can't really do anything about it because of the COVID, and especially with us being in the medical field, it kind of puts a damper on everything,
Hmm.
especially with the the telemed, dealing with the billing part. I definitely can relate to that. But as far as your goals and stuff, did you I know you talked a little bit about that, and it's kind of hard to set goals right now because of COVID, because feel like we have this gray cloud above us because of the COVID. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't take vacations, you can't meet with family, you can't do anything. And the scary part about it is we don't know how long it's going to last. I'm constantly getting news updates on my phone about there being a new strand of COVID, and it's just like, when is it going to stop? Because you don't know. And a lot of people are like you are working from home, and you don't know how long that's going to last either. And, especially with us not being able to do residency, that kind of also puts a damper on things, because you don't know, what's going to happen next, and the graduation issues, and people not doing that either. So it's just like a gloomy little cloud that's hanging over everything. But what do you see your goals being as far as what you want to do next? You said that, the job, looking for a job is a positive goal. So what else do you see in, with that? Because I do want to talk to you a little bit about, what was I going to say? Practicum. I am going to talk to you about that after this.
Okay.
But what do you want to see your goals as far as what you're doing next, other than looking for another job?
Just really trying to finish school out and just making sure that I'm able to make payments for school and to pay all of that out. So top concern would definitely be job security and an alternate source of income would then be like the second goal. And
Keep talking. I can hear you. I need tissue. I can hear you. Keep talking.
Just working on my mood in order to, make sure that I'm able to stabilize myself and not allow myself to fall into like, these moments where I just want to sleep, or these moments where I just want to stay at home and, not socialize with anybody, start eating more, because with all this stuff, sometimes I only eat once a day. So, that's not healthy, so just focusing more on myself, doing more self-care, and just trying to, make sure that I'm more self-sufficient and stuff, and not letting the job take like a toll on me and consume my entire life.
Are you seeing family?
Sometimes I've seen my family maybe like twice this week, and that's really like the most I have in a while.
That's good though.
But it's kind of like, if I go over there and, I hear any negativity, then I'm just like, okay, I love you guys, I gotta go. I just try to avoid that, because it just kind of brings me back to like having a negative energy of like talking to my boss, and it kind of makes my anxiety act up as well. So, but I've been doing pretty good, going to see them lately. So I'll
Yeah.
continue to, include my family in things like that, talk to my friends and stuff, just try to do things that uplift my spirit. I do want to get back to exercising, because I was exercising like every morning, but it's just mentally, I've just been exhausted, So just trying to get back to myself. I mean, just being at home, I stay alone. So just being at home alone most days, just kind of like,
Yeah.
this is my life, I
Not
do
much you
work,
can do. Yeah.
I do my work, I stay home, and if I want to engage with other people outside of that, then I do. But right now, it's just I just have to really focus on myself and focus on building myself back up before I can, get out into the world and be able to talk to other people.
Are you able to talk to any other coworkers?
I do talk to one of my other coworkers about what's going on, and they're kind of like experiencing the same thing. So it's like we are venting to each other, but there's really no solution to the problem, you
Right.
know? So we're all at like a standstill and basically pretty much feeling the same way like, is this going to jeopardize our job? You know, what's going to happen if we don't have the clients? They're forcing us to open these clients, but then we can't help them over the phone, with everything that they're going through at the current moment. So, you know, like it just has your mind like all over the place because you don't know what the next move is going to be.
Right. And see, I'm just thinking, how would it jeopardize the clients?
Well, I mean, it's gonna jeopardize the clients because it's not giving them the proper service, you know. And I mean, I can pick up the phone, I can call you, I can see how you are, I can, like I said earlier, I can do role play, and I can, talk to you and try to see what's going on. I can be an outlet for you, but that's when it kind of turns into, like counseling, you
Yeah.
know and that's not my role at that moment. I'm supposed to link them to services, and which I can do. I can help assist them with finding therapy and stuff. Um, I can't really do much skill work, over the phone. Besides, like telling them, okay, well, this is a scenario. Um, what would you do in this scenario? Or like working on certain skills, like how to build better relationships, or how to have respect and different things like that. But I mean, these kids they're out of school right now. You know, they're not trying to hear that stuff, and their parents, like, oh well, they're gonna go to work, or you know, they're just gonna sit in the house. So the parents are really like laxities with them because they just want them out of their hair.
Yeah, and the frustrating part sounds like the intervention needs to come from higher ups. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like that it you want to help them on your level, but you can't because the help needs to come from supervisor level and the management level. It's just it needs to come from somebody who needs to step in, but nobody wants. I'm not gonna say nobody doesn't want to do it because I don't know the supervisor level job or the
Hmm.
management job. It needs to come from somebody with a higher experience to step in and help, but nobody's gonna step in and do it.
Right.
It sounds kind of frustrating. It's just the people who want to help can't, and the people who can help don't. So it's just like,
Hmm.
what do you do? This is how stuff gets lost in the system because it's very, very frustrating.
Right. So
That's
yeah.
heartbreaking. It's just, I can see how kids get lost in the system all the time
Hmm.
because the people who have heart to do it can't. And it's just, that's
And
mind blowing
especially
though.
right now, it's just really really hard to have that interaction, especially like not being able to physically see your client. It's like you have to build your rapport over the phone. And for some people, if they don't actually get to see you, it could be different. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not like I'm sending the client pictures and say, okay, well, this is what I look like, and send me a picture. It's just like a ear. If you want to talk to me, and it's like I could be clearly, I'm a complete stranger to them at this moment.
Yeah.
So it's like they may feel like, well, I'm just telling this stranger my feelings or what's going on with me, you know, in order to get through these services. But as a child, I would be like, what good is this doing? Like, she
Mm-hmm.
calls me to see what's going on, in my life, or just seeing like what can I work on, and that could be frustrating for the child. Like, okay, she calls me every week and she wants to do role play and she wants, it's like I'm not in therapy. This is supposed to be services to help me because I run away from home or I get in trouble from school. I was expelled from school. Like, what can I work on right now? And the kids are, like being rebellious to it because they feel like they're out of school right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't have the issues right now. They feel like their issues are not existing right now.
The parents probably
So,
feel the same way.
right.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're trying to have our summer, because some kids do act totally different at home. And most of the parents that I talk to, they don't have any issues with the child in the home. It was mostly them not doing homework or the teacher saying, oh, well, they may not pass, because of such and such reason, but
Yeah.
the
They
child
don't
passed.
act like this at home.
Mhm.
They don't act like this at home, but you see a totally different child in school. Yeah.
Mhm.
My sister's a school teacher. She says it all the time. So I can relate to that. I
Mhm.
understand, but
Right. So
frustrating.
yeah, it's just frustrating. It just feels like you're doing a disservice to the kids. So I just wish there was some way to like actually like have a plan or anything for them. And
Yeah.
I don't think that at the current moment that anybody has really come up with anything because my coworkers are all dealing with the same thing, and it's kind of overwhelming all of us to and trickling down into our own personal lives.
Yeah.
And like when you're in the office, you're dealing with the work. You go home, you kind of let go, you know, and you leave it at work. But when you're working from home,
You have nowhere to put it. Yeah.
right? So yeah, it's just I just really wish that there was a different way to actually do the job and actually effectively help the kids. But
Yeah. But who's to say your next job is not going to be like this? You know?
hmm
And I'm not trying to be negative, but realistically, what if it's just like this or even worse?
hmm
You just move on to the next until you graduate and you find something else.
well, I mean,
It's
after
not.
graduation, it would be the counseling piece, so it would be a little different. And I'm still like PRN in my other job, so like a lot of the other case managers, they're still there every day on site with the clients because it's at a shelter. They may not have like, I mean, everybody still has to stay there 6 feet away from each other, but they still have constant interaction with the clients. They're still able to help them. And I was a housing case manager there, so like I get a lot of emails, saying that this client has moved out, or like today they started accepting new clients. So it's like they're having some progress within their program, and being able to help people. So that makes them, what allows them to feel like, okay, well, I'm actually doing something,
Mm-hmm.
versus me just not being able, because there's no structure or order really for us to, know what to do. It's like, okay, well, what skills are you going to work on with the child? And it's like, okay, I go through my skill book, find the skills that I want to work on with the child, but it's really hard, especially when you have younger kids too, because I have some younger kids, and at this time they just worried about going to summer camp, you know. So it's like, okay, Miss Taisha, school's over. So why are we talking about, learning how to do this or learn.
Right. But that's surprising too, because there's so many adults who are actually going through PTSD right now because of the pandemic. You can pick an
Mhm.
adult, any of them, and they'll tell you. I'm tired of sitting in the house with these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to the parents.
Right, right.
But but yeah, you never know when it's gonna end, if it is gonna end.
Right, right. Especially with them saying that, it could open back up, but at least, something could be implemented what we're doing. Live sessions, like I'm doing with you. I could, maybe talk to my child or my client, that I have, and we can go over some things, get more personal, so that we can build a relationship and have that connection in order for us to really like complete the job or complete the services with the child that we're supposed to be doing. And then at the end of the day, that will make me feel more confident in my job, knowing that I'm actually helping out, the child or
Mm,
doing the services that I should be doing, versus just doing paperwork. Because at this moment, that's all my job has become.
right. You may be surprised what they tell you.
Mm-hmm.
They be bored, they may not be.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's like my number one stressor for school, over everything. That's like my number one stressor because it kind of you know takes away from all of my energy and stuff, for when I have to do stuff for school, and it's like you know we're doing the same thing, but we're actually like being active and being involved and like doing stuff. Just like I see it in class, like how we're actually able to do services or like work one on one with the client. But then that's on the counseling piece, but I can't necessarily bring that to my job because that's not what my position is over there. So it's like this is the only structure that I have when I'm in school. But like
Mhm.
what else do I do with the job piece?
Right.
So.
But if you remember, there were so many services available post Katrina. So there'll be so many services for us post pandemic. At
Mhm.
least that's the way I see it. But I could be wrong too,
Right,
especially
right.
in our state.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Um, is there anything else on your mind you wanted to speak about other than transitioning, finding another job, and anything else
No, not at the moment. The job is really just my main concern.
stressing you out?
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't for, the pandemic having to lock you in to your own home and your own thoughts, it wouldn't be as bad. It would be, but not technically as bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot of people I think at first said, "Oh, I get to work from home." No, you don't quite understand how tough that
Yeah.
can be sometimes.
It really makes you lazy, especially sitting inside all day for those 8 hours a day. You're
Yes.
sitting, yes, you're doing work, but then you're eating, you're able to maneuver around your own. The environment is too comfortable.
And no real human interaction with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That can drive you nuts.
Right.
You really can.
So I don't know. I
Have you
guess.
ever thought about playing music during the day when you're home?
Well, not necessarily because music kind of distracts me.
Does it really?
Yeah. So I try to, do that in my spare time when I don't have anything else to do. Because sometimes, music is just so good, you don't want to do your work. You want to listen to the music, So
Catch
yeah.
yourself dancing sometimes?
So I try to avoid all distractions if I can. So yeah, I can't do the music. I mean, there's this thing on YouTube where it's like we have the concentration stuff. It's kind of like a meditation type of music, but it
Yeah.
helps you for like your memory and like concentration and stuff like that. So I'll do that sometimes.
Hmm.
It kind of helps, but for the most part, no.
So you just sit in complete silence?
hmm No TV.
Oh goodness. Yeah,
Nothing.
that would, yeah.
Yeah.
I see why that would drive you crazy. Sit there for
And
hours.
it's just like I'm sitting on the couch, on the computer, doing work, calling clients, and half the time, I mean, I have 8 clients. The clients talk to you maybe 15 minutes at the most.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, I try to space it out and call this one 1 hour, call this one the next hour, call this one the next hour. But it's only so much that you can do.
Oh goodness. Yeah. I see why you
I
would go
mean, if
stir
I call
crazy.
them all back to back, I mean, I'll be done in like 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot to take on, especially all that work and then the boss calling you first thing in the morning. Yeah, that would definitely stress me out. I
Mm-hmm.
would be doing yoga or something, doing kind of stretches and doing this and
Mm-hmm.
lighting a candle or something.
Yeah. And I try when I'm not doing the work, like my little sage some days and stuff like that. But
Do you stand up at all? Stand up and just try to move around or just take some
yeah,
breaks in
I'm
between?
going to the bathroom, going to the kitchen to get food. It's like I'm going on an hour lunch break every day, but I can really eat all day if I want because I'm at home. So
Do you take a walk or something? Leave and open the door? Or something?
no, not really. When it's during the daytime, no. That's what I'm saying. At first, I was like every morning I would get up early, and then me and my coworker we used to go and walk. But now we don't have time to do all that.
Goodness.
So
Have you tried to change your location? Like go somewhere else or
um,
just do something?
so so I've gone out on the patio once before, but besides that, no.
Wow, that's got to be hard. Yeah, I see how that could wear you down.
Yeah, but coffee shops are closed.
Hmm.
Um, so it's really nowhere really to go. I mean, we can go to the office and sit in the office, but we all have to have certain days that we go to the office, and when we're in the office, we have to wear our mask, we have to be 6 feet apart, and they really just want us there to print, and that's all.
Yeah,
Print, file your charts and stuff like that, but that's about it. So
yeah, that's why self-care is really, really, really important for stuff like this. I know they stress that to us, during these courses and stuff, but we had no idea how important self-care is now during the pandemic for stuff like this. We had
right.
no idea. I mean, they stressed it last year about it, but that was just the idea of us dealing with clients, but not the idea of us being in isolation. And they really need to stress it a lot more now because when you're in isolation like this, self-care is super, 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 super important because your mind is really sometimes your worst enemy because it can really, it really can, you know.
Yeah.
But the encouraging part is to reach out to friends and family whenever you need it, especially if, I listen to, when I'm physically at work, I'm able to listen to things and it kind of, like you said, it is distraction when you're listening to shows and stuff on TV and this lady was talking about how she's in prison, and she
Mhm.
said the worst part about being in prison, whether it's in your own mind or if you're physically in the cell, is the emotional toll it takes on you.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize that until she said it, because really your own mind kind of does stuff to you. So it's just locking yourself in kind of, it can do a lot of damage to you.
Yeah.
But just like I said, self-care is really, really important. Even if you find a different job, it's just make sure you take care of yourself too. Even if it means, what time it went off, I'm sorry. Even if it means just visiting family more, talking to
Mhm.
friends more. You know, I don't know if you're able to text while you're working.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at home, but even when I was in the office, we were able to. Yeah.
But just to recap, because our time is up. But I think it is good that you want to start branching out, finding a different job and things like that. But just make sure you take care of yourself too. And did you want to add anything else?
No, that was all I had today. Hey, Shannon,
Hello.
how are you today?
A little tired and bummed out, but I'm okay.
Okay. All right. So over the past weeks, we've been talking about, um, that you've been dealing with some issues with your ex-husband, and you have the new boyfriend that just moved in, and you also have work and stuff that you're having issues with, and also um the issues with, like, family not understanding that you are taking on a new relationship and stuff like that. How's it been this week?
Uh,
Has anything
um,
changed, or?
well, okay. You need to back up all the way to 2013. All right. Um, my ex-husband has been on what we call borrowed time. He had an aortic aneurysm back in
Mm-hmm.
2013 when the kids were, back then I had just the girls. They were really little. Um, his foreman had called me when I was at work and told me they had him in the back of an ambulance. This was the week of Thanksgiving in 2013, that they had him on an EKG. They didn't know if he was having a heart attack. So it took me 2 hours to get to St. Charles Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with that. Of course, I didn't know where I was going. So, and I got there and they told me they had just done a CT, and they realized that he was actually having an aortic aneurysm. They had to transfer him to Ochsner. He was off Veterans in Kenner, I think somewhere out there. And they had to do an 8-hour surgery to save his life. And I didn't know what was going on. I just know I had to react, I had to call family and everything like that. The surgery took 8 hours. Luckily, an aortic aneurysm kills you. Once it happens, it splits, you die, that's it. But because the aorta split, it split on the inside, he bled internally instead of externally. If he bled the other way, it would have killed it. Well, luckily, it saved his life. Caught it in time, he was at work. And if they would have sent him home, he wouldn't have lived. But they told him that when he left the hospital, that there was still 2 spots on his aorta that they were watching, that
Mm-hmm.
they were monitoring, but he had to keep cardiac appointments. He had to keep seeing a cardiologist every year to have CTs done, echoes, all that kind of stuff to keep monitoring. But he was not promised a full life. He had to stay on top of blood pressure. He had to watch what he ate, that kind of thing. He had to pretty much. He was on borrowed time. He was not guaranteed to live a full life, but live his life to the fullest. Stay on top of his appointment. No salt diet, that kind of thing. But keep on top of it. He didn't do that. They told him it could be a few months, a few years, 7 years, 10 years. He may even live a full life, but it just wasn't guaranteed that, you know, he was lucky, pretty much. That went in one ear, out the other one. Well, fast forward 7 years. He actually did have an echo done last week, same time I had mine. They told him he had two very large spots on his aorta that were extremely large, and that he needed to go and have a CT done to make sure he didn't have to have surgery. And the nurse specified to him, you need to go have it done as soon as possible. What does he do? He waits to schedule it to July 7th, July 6th. I'm like, what did the doctor tell you when we left the hospital? He's like, I know I'm probably not going to make it to July 6th. What's wrong with you? You have 3 kids now. We're barely even making it through this divorce. I know I'm probably not going to live. You have 3 kids to take care of still. What is wrong with you? And right now, he was talking to me like he was really scared. Like he knows he's not going to live. Like he knows right now he may not make it the next few weeks. And I'm like when he was talking to me, he had no color in his face. He looked like he was sick. And to me, I'm like, you really don't need to be driving around with my kids in your truck. You don't need to go anywhere. And not all this past weekend, I'm checking my phone thinking the kids are going to call me crying. Mom, Daddy's on the floor. Because if it hits him this time, it's going to kill him. He's not going to make it. If it ruptured, he's going to die before he hits the floor. And I'm like, do you not care about your life? Because I'm not with you anymore. It's just like, you don't care. You don't care. Thankfully, he came by Sunday. And when I talked to my oldest, she waited until he left and she just started crying. I'm like, he told you. She said, yeah. And I had to explain this whole situation with her because we're at the point where we've always raised our kids that we never lied to them about anything, but they were too little for me to explain it to them back then. So I just told everything. I'm like, this A, B, C, D, E, this is what happened with him from the beginning. He was not supposed to live. I'm sorry, he didn't. She said, I want to be alone. And she grabbed my hand. She said, I understand that you and Daddy never lied to us. So I'm not going to lie to you. He may not make it. I'm sorry. He may not. And I hugged her and she cried for an hour and a half and she was fine. But when he came back Sunday, when he came back and dropped him off, he stood in front of me. He's like, I got to call Daddy. I got to call Mama. And it's like, I'm just not going to make it. He pretty much gave up. He pretty much gave up. And I don't know. I don't know what to do at this point. I can't make him go to the doctor any sooner. I couldn't make him before when I was with him. So I'm frustrated. I'm kind of hurt a little bit because he's always been stubborn. He would never go to the doctor before. It's like a typical man anyway. But now he's just, when we went to the mediator, we never really signed anything for a legal separation because there isn't one in Louisiana. Until you finalize the divorce, you go in front of a court. So look, I've been living apart for a full year. We have kids under the age of 18. You sign papers that said you divorced. So right now I'm still legally married to him. So if anything happens to him, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with his house, with his truck. I don't know. We never really fully discussed it. If it happens, I don't know. I know the kids will be covered under Social Security if something happens to him. But I haven't wrapped my mind around it. He just told me this Friday, and I'm still reeling from the fact that I've been knowing this man 15 years, and he may go at any time because we have all this history. So I'm dealing with all these emotions right now because I'm angry with him because he doesn't care. He's still got 3 kids to take care of. I've been fighting emotions like all week. I can't make him do anything. He may be giving up because I'm not in his life anymore. He may be giving up because I moved on already. And from when I talked to my oldest, she said when he told me, Mom, he was trying not to cry. But I can't do anything because I'm not with him anymore. I can talk to him all I want, but I know for a fact that if he talks to his mom, she's not gonna take it too well.
Hmm.
But
So what
um,
are some things that you've tried? I know you mentioned, talking to your daughter and, what are some things that you tried as far as like trying to, and I know it could be difficult because you guys are going through a divorce. Like, what are some things that you can do in order to like assist him? Maybe, you know, be there as like a support system when he calls his mom or his dad. I mean, it wouldn't be, giving him like mixed signals or anything like that. Obviously, you can probably, talk to your current boyfriend. And I'm pretty sure in a situation like this, he will be understanding. But what are some things that, you can do in order to, help ease that tension or, just help smooth everything over in a way to where he's comfortable?
that's just it. I don't know because I'm so used to being his wife almost 15 years.
Hmm.
I'm so used to being there comforting him. It's kind of awkward to be in a situation on the other side of it because I'm used to being his friend and a wife at the same time. All I can do is sit there and listen.
Hmm.
And I don't know what his thought process is, if he really is giving up or if he's scared. Because at the same time, he was complaining about, I don't want nobody cutting on me anymore. I've been through this before. I don't have money for bills. I'm like, well, you need to think about your kids. Are you just going to when you're just going to die and leave them here? I mean, I've asked him that. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. He was more angry about the whole process, not wanting surgery again, not wanting to pay bills. I'm like, okay, then you're going to die if you don't. It's something I would have told him if I was with him. Like, you can't just do that. You can't just cop out. He's like, well, it may not be that bad. Can I just put a stent in? I said, it doesn't work like that.
Hmm.
You can't because this is another major surgery. You may need it. You can't just be an outpatient surgery and then walk away and go home. It's not that simple. You said the
Hmm.
same thing 7 years ago when we were sitting in the hospital and you were bleeding out. You can't just patch it up and go home. It doesn't work like that. They may have to cut you open again. I don't want to do that.
So what are some things that you've done in the past to kind of cope with that? As far as like the last time when it happened, something that you can probably do. I know it's a different situation right now, but what are some things that you've done in the past to kind of cope with it to, make yourself feel, like this problem isn't so much of a burden to you? But I understand completely that it's, you have a lot to take into consideration, then your kids.
Last time I yelled at him because he didn't have a choice. I mean, we were all sitting in the emergency room. The doctor told him you don't have a choice. He was strapped down at the time. He had a morphine in his arm, and I'm like, you're not going anywhere. You're getting an ambulance. You don't have a choice. That's the
Mhm.
way we had to deal with him, is to fight anger with anger, because if we back down like we always do, he's gonna get his way. That's just how he is. He's an angry person, and you can't talk to somebody who's that angry because you're not gonna win. Even if I talk to him calmly, he's gonna do what he wants to, and that the only way out for him being that angry is he's gonna die. And that's just how he is. He is that freaking stubborn. He doesn't listen. He's very hard headed. And the only way around it when I was with him before is I would make myself go with him because he's to doctor's appointments. I mean, because he wouldn't tell me anything. Oh, they
Mhm.
said it was fine. No, it didn't. No, they did not. I would have to go with him and listen to what the nurse said because he wouldn't tell me anything. What the doctor say? Oh, I'm fine. Uh huh. Why on medication? Oh, nothing. Okay. From now on, I'm going with you because you're not telling me anything. He's just like a stubborn old man. You tell him not to drive, they're gonna do it anyway. You tell him not to dip, he's gonna do it anyway. Because the second day that he was out of ICU, they put him in a regular room. He was back to putting dip in his mouth. The chewing tobacco was back. I'm like, really? You just had open heart surgery. I can't make him not do something. My mom was fussing at me. What you want me to do? I can't take it from him. He's gonna go back out and buy it again. I'm like, okay,
So do you think that's what worsened the situation?
yeah, yeah. And he's the type that I used to fuss at him all the time. If I cooked, no matter what it was, if it was macaroni and cheese or spaghetti, he would pour salt on it before he ate it. It's like, you really need to taste it first. So you making your condition a lot worse. It's just, it didn't matter what I said, he's gonna do it anyway. He's very, very stubborn. That could have been what saved him too, but it's just,
And how does this affect how you feel about yourself?
sometimes I feel like I failed his wife sometimes, but a lot
Mhm.
of it is just him. That's just how he is. I mean, he's pushed away so many people in his life, even his own parents, that they're like at the point where I can't deal with him. You deal with him. Now I'm at the point where I can't deal with him. Y'all deal with him because
Mhm.
I can't. But sometimes I feel like my mom said, you can't blame yourself for this because he put himself in this situation because he didn't want to take care of himself. I tried, but as much as I did take care of him, ultimately he is responsible for who he is. I cannot physically make him do anything. He's going to do what he wants to anyway. And he's proven that already because the doctors have told him, you've got to make your appointment. Even if I made his appointment, he'd go back and he'd change it. So it didn't matter what I did. I did everything right down the line. Did everything I was supposed to, except physically taking it, kicking and screaming. He still changed it. So
So I noticed, when you're talking about that, you're looking down. You kind of sigh a lot, and you're just kind of you let it all go once you do a long sigh. How do you typically handle like your irritation or like frustration, your disappointments?
mhm.
What are some things that you do to kind of like handle those to help yourself to be in a better space?
I don't think I do. I think I let it get to me sometimes, and that's my stresses. But still, at the end of the day, I'll have to realize that I can't do anything to change somebody else's behavior. I mean, this is his, as much as I want to, and it's got to a point. One time when I laugh, and I don't mean to laugh about it, and I'm not a mean person. I never have been. My whole
Mhm.
goal has always been to take care of everybody else before me. But he came to the house one day. He said, "I think I have a tumor," and I laughed at him because I know how he is. He wants people to kind of really, man, feel sorry for me, to kind of that kind of thing. And I'm like, "You don't have a tumor. You don't have a tumor." I kept saying, "You don't have a tumor." "Yes, I do. What if I'm dying?" "You don't have a tumor. You don't have a tumor." So 2 weeks later goes by, and I don't mean to laugh because if he did, I'd feel bad. But he came back. He said, "That wasn't a tumor. It was just a crick neck." "Oh, what happened to the tumor?" "It wasn't a tumor." "Okay, I
Mhm.
thought so." It's just he does that. It's like, I think I'm dying. Don't claim you're dying until you really know you're dying. But now that he
Mhm.
really is, it's like, okay, I'm dying, but I'm not doing nothing
So
about it.
you do have like actual proof or documentation from the doctor that this is what's going on?
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, what's wrong with you then? If you're not doing nothing about it, now all of a sudden you cried wolf all this time, you're dying. Now that you are, you're not
Mhm.
going to do anything about it. And okay. Ugh.
So what have the people that are around you, that know about it, like what are they telling you about the situation, how you should go about handling it? Because I know it's rough, especially having, your kids.
Um, the people who really know him have
Hmm.
told me where he put himself in this position. You can't really do anything about it because you told him, and it's really on him what he does next. Our biggest fear now is when the kids are around him. My mom said already, "I've prayed all this weekend that the kids get home to you safe." I'm like, yeah, but legally he does have a right to have him, but I can't. All I can do is check on the kids. That's
Hmm.
everybody's main concern. I haven't told a lot of people because it's really on him what he does with his information. It's just the people who actually know. I'm telling him, you need to tell your mom, you need to tell your dad, because if something happens to you, I can't be the only one solely responsible here because I'm still married to you,
Hmm.
because I don't live with you anymore. The only people who have to know are his boss, his mom, his dad, is me, and the kids, and that's it. Because we're the only one in his circle right now. Everybody else he's pretty much pushed off.
Hmm.
So if anything happens to him, these are people who need to know. because nobody else checks on him but me. Nobody else goes to that house but me because I have to pick up the kids, and the kids live with him on the weekend. And his boss has to know when he's not at work. Nobody else goes to that house. So I haven't told anybody else. The only other person I told is you and the girl I work with, because I kind of had to vent to somebody at work, because if I need to run out, they need to know what's going on. But everybody else has said, I've talked to, have said the same thing. What if the kids are alone with him? They don't need to find him, and he doesn't need to drive them around. So they all feel the same way I do. So every weekend, this first weekend, I just panicked a little bit, and I'm like checking my phone, making sure the kids are okay. But if they've all said the same thing, he's put himself in that position because he's pushed everybody away, so where that it's hard to comfort him right now because he's so hard-headed and stubborn. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And he's made it hard for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can get close to him though. I don't know. Even when he was here, we were all sitting around talking when he came by and dropped off the kids. He would not acknowledge anybody else in the room, not Brian, not his son, just me. It was like he was looking for comfort from me, and it was hard for me to console him the way I should because he's so mean-spirited, I guess to say, because I felt sorry for him, but not like I should have. And I hate to say it like that because he's been so rude and cold and mean to me for the last 6 months. It's hard for me to really be the way I used to be with him.
Okay. That can be understandable in some situations. And I know you're thinking about your kids, and this is just overwhelming because like you mentioned before, the home and the truck and all that stuff will fall onto you. Do you think now would maybe be a good time to have like a lawyer or something involved so that you know the potential things that could occur if it did lead to him passing?
Financially, I can't. It would be easier for me to kind of ease myself in the conversation to ask him what would he like me to do with the house if something happened to him. It would be easier for me to
Well, I
kind of,
I
I guess.
want you to know, there's things like legal aid where you wouldn't have to pay for lawyers, so you can look into that as
Yeah.
well because there's a lot of pro bono services that are available for people.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to ask him because he just took me off of the truck title that I paid for last week because he was so insistent on getting my name off of it. I'm like, why are you just now trying to do it? I don't know why. He just, well, I need to get you taken off the title until he realized how much it had to cost him. And I'm like, I walk out the door. I'm like, I gotta go. I'm like, why you wanted to do it now? Like, okay, whatever you want. Just went in and signed the paper. And then he was just so insistent on certain things because he's that particular about certain things.
In one of our previous conversations, wasn't the truck? It was one of your concerns as well, right?
That was his, yeah.
What like the payments and stuff
That was his.
Okay.
Because we have 4 vehicles. The Ford is mine, and the Titan was mine because it was a Christmas present that I bought for him a couple years ago, and I finished paying for it like 2 years ago. But because it was in my name, the title had my name on it. But because he owned it, he was so insistent he wanted my name off of it and his on it. It's just, I don't know, like, okay, whatever you want to do. So last weekend we went and switched it. And I'm like, he was just so insistent. I want my name on the title. Okay, fine, whatever. My name taken off. But with the Ford being that I'm paying for it and his name appears first on it, we're gonna have to do the same thing after I finish paying for it. It's a whole big old mess right now.
Okay.
He just doesn't want his name on it. He's afraid that I'm gonna wreck it, and then I'm gonna put him in hot water. Okay. That's where the argument came in. So I'm dealing with more than I can handle right now because it's just the issue with the boyfriend now is just the kids are trying to adjust with having a stepbrother and then they're fighting all the time. And then when I went downstairs just now, Brian said, well, the kids are up, they're fighting with each other. And I'm like, can we deal with this after I finish?
Hmm. And how has that been for y'all now, staying under the same roof?
Um, I'm constantly having family meetings with them
Hmm.
because some days we're good and then other days, like before I came back up here, he's like, well, Gavin feels like he's isolated from the kids because, they don't want him dealing with this. And I'm like, okay, I'll have another family meeting when I'm finished. But it's just, we'll find some days and then they've got to understand my son's only 5. So he likes, a toddler, like everything's mine, no matter what.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter if it's mine or his, it's mine. So he's used to being an only child with just his dad all the time. And half the time, it's like, I don't spend enough time with my dad. I don't spend enough time with my dad. And I'm like, okay.
So there's some jealousy going on there.
Oh, all the time.
Hmm.
So even with me, he's like, when it's just me, him, and his dad on the weekend because my kid's spending time with my ex. He's like, I just want to spend time with dad. There was an issue this weekend
Hmm.
where I wanted all 3 of us to go grocery shopping because I don't know what everybody wants. Now I'm taking care of a house with 4 kids. So they're here all the time while we're working, with the exception of my son. And I need to know what they need to eat because these are 3 teenagers and they eat all the time
Hmm.
because they're constantly in the house. You know that. And it's his son threw a fit. I just want to be with my dad. I'm like, no, we all need to go because I need to know what everybody wants. It's just I need to know.
Hmm.
And he got upset.
Well, how can you give them that alone time to themselves?
With his son,
Hmm.
I'm free to give it to him anytime he wants. But sometimes we need all of us to go because I'm not a mind reader. I can't just shop and guess and then come home and they go shopping again. And they go
Well,
shopping.
have you tried doing a list? Maybe, y'all do have like family meetings during those times when y'all have family meetings, maybe doing a list of some items that everyone may like.
I tried that, but then he got mad and didn't want to do the list. He got
Hmm.
upset. He's like, I'm not doing the list. I'm not going. It's too early. Everything turns into a fight. So let's just all go and get it over with. We got a lot to do today. It's just turns into a fight between me and him. Turns into a fight between me and him. Like, yeah, it's just one fight after another one, and it's just trying to compromise with everybody, bring everybody together. And then the
Hmm.
kids fight, and then the girl fight, and then this one fights with that one, and that one.
So have you guys actually sat down outside of the kids and had like a conversation on a game plan, like how you guys are going to get the family to work as one unit?
Hmm. After that, yeah, we did. We compromised about that, and we talked. And the problem is that the son is relating all 4 of his relationships into me. And I told him, stop doing that. You can't keep living in the past because I'm not them. It's just not
Well,
going to
and
happen.
and for a kid, it's fairly new, so he still has to,
Hmm.
get used to you. So, have you guys tried to just have a long time with you and the son, where you guys go out to the store or you guys hang out to build your relationship?
He doesn't want to. He's never wants to leave his dad's side. Even when he comes home, he's right behind him. He goes
Hmm.
sit in the bedroom, he's right behind him. It's like every time you turn around, he's right behind his dad. And I told him, I said, both of y'all have a codependency issue because you can't.
Well, they're just used to, always
Yeah,
being around each other.
and I've
That's
tried.
normal for them.
That's how the fight started that morning. I said, what's the problem with Gavin staying by himself? He can stay by himself while me and you go to groceries, and I'll ask him what he needs. He can text me on the way. Well, he's tried to commit suicide like that before. I was like, we're just going to the store. That has nothing to do with it. That started the conversation.
But
That
that,
started the fight
for
between
him
me and
as
him.
a dad, that could be a real concern.
It is, and I understood that. And he got into a fight with me. He's like, you're trying to control me. I said, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying get some distance between both of you. I understand you're concerned about that. But sometimes it feels like a codependency issue between you and him. Sometimes y'all need a break from each other. And the thing is, I've noticed that Gavin will sleep purposely all day long until his dad comes home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not causing.
That could be for him a coping mechanism.
Is. And I told him that. I said, maybe if he stays up during the day and spends time with the girls, with my girls all day, maybe they can build a relationship. I said, just try doing that. He didn't want to. And my son views Gavin as a threat because right now he was the only boy in the house. So I'm trying to build that relationship. And when I went downstairs, Brian told me that my son doesn't want to deal with Gavin because they fight all the time. He wants him out. And he told me that my son said he didn't want them in the house no more. And then Brian got upset that we need to leave. I'm like, it's not that. Oh my gosh. It's like, we just had this family meeting the other day. It's not that y'all need to leave. I said, every time we get into a fight, that's the first thing you say you want to leave. It makes me feel like you really don't want to be here. I say, you need to keep that option off the table unless you really want to. I said, we really need to have a really big family meeting about this because it's not just one issue, it's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I understand you uprooted your entire life to be here with us, and I really admire that. But it's like every little issue y'all have, you keep relating it back to your old problems with your relationships, like you never really dealt with them.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm trying to start over with a clean slate, and I've got all this other stuff going on. It's like so many things going on at once. It's like you got different issues balling up into one. It's like you need to deal with each little part at one time and stop balling them up into one until they explode. I said, I kept telling him, you got to realize my son's only 5. And he's still dealing with the separation right now. So.
Okay. So you don't think that his son is also dealing with separation because he has to share his dad?
Yeah, he blames his dad for everything. He told me that. He's like, you keep dragging me from one relationship to another one, and this relationship is going to end up the same way. And I'm
because it kind of seems like you're making light of it for your son, and not really considering the situation with his son.
Yeah.
Because even though there's that age difference, it kind of seems like they're both battling the same issue.
Yeah. Just trying to blend 2 families together. It's not easy. It's the first time I'm actually going through it. He's been through it 4 times, but it's not easy either way. It's workable, but it's a progression thing, and it's not like it'll happen overnight. It's going to take time to develop. Like they just moved in on the 29th, so it hasn't even been a month yet.
Okay. So tell me some things that you guys can do in regards to like team building.
His idea was to try to put Gavin and my son in the same room because they both almost have the same personality, just 2 different sides of the spectrum. It's just they can kind of balance each other out. But with my son being 5 and Gavin being 12, it may work, but there's a lot of tension between them. Because they're both fighting for their parents' attention, but on different levels. So, I mean, neither one of them likes sleeping alone. And they're fighting for the same thing. It's just a fighting against each other. If they can get along, but they got to learn to get along. And I don't think the best idea, putting them in the same room right now, is the best idea. It's a good idea, but maybe not right now. And,
And from 5 to, you said 12? That's a big age difference.
Maturity level is, yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to the team building. How do you think that that's gonna help to like build you guys as a family, putting them in the same room?
I don't know. They were up the other night. We didn't get no sleep Monday night because they were up screaming at each other from like midnight to 3 in the morning. I wanted to separate them because it didn't do any good. I think they pick at each other on purpose to see who's going to make each other mad first, and it doesn't work. And neither one of us want to yell at each other's kids. That's just our rule. We don't do that. It's just you parent your kid, I parent mine, because it's not fair. Because it's just gonna make each other mad. And
so at what point do you guys plan on doing it as a family? Because it could be confusing the kids, because now it's, you know, it's still separate, but you guys are under the same roof,
yeah,
trying to be a family and still have like the separation going on.
hmm
So how could you guys work together in order to create that family environment? Because that's the goal, correct?
he did once with my son.
Mm-hmm.
Try to put him in timeout and to
Mm-hmm.
try to, because he does need discipline. But when I stepped in, I thought he was trying to, I guess, stop him from crying. And I picked up my son because I thought that's what he was doing. He got mad at me. He's like, "Why did you do that?" I'm like, "I thought you were trying to calm him down." He got upset with me. He's like, "If that's what
Mm-hmm.
you want to do, I can leave him." I didn't know what you were doing. I just stepped in. Because
Mm-hmm.
my thing is, if my son's crying for more than 5 minutes, I'm going to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know he was disciplining him. So I took it the wrong way. He took it the wrong way. And when we stopped and calmed down, I realized what the situation was,
Mm-hmm.
and we apologized for it. So I'm fine with him disciplining my son if it's not a harsh discipline. So
Mm-hmm.
we set some
So
boundaries with
a
that.
timeout for you would consider that to be a harsh discipline?
No, I didn't notice what he was doing because to me it looked like he was sitting in the corner trying to calm him down. I didn't know he was disciplining him. To me, it just looked like he was just trying to calm him down. That's what I would have done. But it was taking too long, so I just picked him up and just did like any mom would do, just calm him down. When I picked him up, he stopped crying, and he got upset with me. He's like, "I can't believe you just did that. I was just trying to teach him something. I didn't know that's what you were doing." That kind of thing. He
Mm-hmm.
was just trying to teach him not to kick, not to swear, just to calm him down, and it worked in the end anyway. So I took it the wrong way. I didn't know that's what he was doing.
Okay. So, okay, I want you to think about like what would be different for you guys in the future when things are going better, you know, when you're not dealing with all of these troubles. What would like the ideal uh family picture look like for you guys?
We communicate really good. That's always been our good thing. And with my ex, we couldn't communicate properly. We always did two different parenting styles. Me and him parent really, 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 really well with these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's always going to be the basis for a really good family right now is parenting styles and communicating really good. We always keep an open line of communication with these kids. Anytime if there's a disagreement with them, we all pull everybody in and we talk about it. We don't do it privately with each other. We always group session all the time,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's in the bedroom or not. Okay, there was a disagreement with the kids because we always let them ride around the parking lot. There's a parking lot across the street from this house, and we always let them ride the bikes. But my oldest child decided, well, I'm in charge. Well, his son didn't like that. He took off. So I pulled them all into us. I said, nope, y'all gonna talk about it. And I let them have the floor. And when I felt like I needed to say something or he needed to say something, we interjected and they squashed it. That was it. And everybody was happy. We always do it like that. So I'm going to pretty much do the same thing tonight. Pull everybody in. We're going to talk about what bothers everybody, put it all on the table, and then talk about it, and so everybody feels better. That's how we do it.
All right. So, what are some things that you think personally that Shannon could do differently in a situation like that?
Um, I try to take things personally sometimes, especially when it's about my kids, because I want to just play
Mm-hmm.
mama bear and just these are my kids type thing. But I've learned real quick that I can't do that because now
Mm-hmm.
that I have a family of four, I can't just shield my kids. This is my kids. This is your kids. Let me go play. I can't do that anymore. Because I started to do that in the beginning, but I know
Mm-hmm.
that I can't do that anymore. Because it used to be my kids versus your kids. I'm gonna take care of mine. You take care of yours. We can't do that anymore. It's just like we're a family unit. Even when my
Mm-hmm.
kids will say, "Gavin did this. He did this." Oh yeah, go get your daddy. Come in. Nope. We're gonna talk about it as a family unit. I still do that sometimes, but I gotta learn to keep an open mind and realize that it's not just about my kids anymore. It's about all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I still try to do that sometimes. I'm like, my kids come first. Yeah, can't do that.
Got you. Okay. So have you talked to him about some things that he feels like he can work on?
Yeah. Uh, he can get cold sometimes. He can get really mean, especially when that incident happened. He immediately jumped on my throat, assuming that I was going against him for what he was doing. My son,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, let me finish what I had to say first and understand where I was coming from before you get mad and want to bounce and leave. Because, like I said, every time that we get into a tiff, he's always putting that option on the table. Okay, I'm gonna break and run every time things get mad, because that's what he always did in the past. Both him and his son are always relating all of their past experiences to this one. Y'all have got to stop doing that. I am not like ABCDE wife. I am me. This is a new experience. Stop doing that.
And also
It's not.
take into consideration that you guys are still, learning each other. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like what they have to fall back on right now. And
Right.
sometimes it's okay to, hold your tongue so that you uh, eliminate like a lot of confrontation, while you guys are still learning one another.
Right.
But, having a working plan and being able to team build outside of, just talking, like putting things into action, that could be something that you guys could consider.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So give me two things that like team building wise that you guys could actually like physically do.
What was your question? I didn't hear you.
Tell me two things that you guys could physically do as far as like team building outside
Um,
of just having talks, like physical things that you guys can do with the kids to help team build.
do more family things together, because sometimes we can't always agree on what we want to do collectively. There's
Mhm.
6 of us in this house. There's no way we can always agree on one thing at one time, even to go out to eat. And I don't always
So
have the kids on the
tell
weekend.
me, tell me what that would look like, as you two as the head adults in the household. How would that look like? Tell me what that would look like from like the moment where you're saying, okay, this is what we're going to do today to implementing it to ensure that it's carried out. Like, what would that look like? Like, tell me,
But
let
first, we
me.
would ask the kids' opinions first. We would ask them, what do y'all want to do? And if they can't
Mhm.
decide, say, okay, well, we're going here. How do y'all feel about it? And
Well,
then nobody agrees.
but you're saying that the problem is that nobody agrees. So you know, maybe you guys can consider like I know when we were growing up, it wasn't always an option for us to do stuff. We woke up and our parents would say, okay, well, put your clothes on, we're going here. You know, have you guys considered taking that standpoint or no?
Yeah, see, it hasn't happened yet. We haven't had a family outing yet.
Hmm.
It's always, okay, what are we eating tonight? Nobody agrees on it. So I can
Okay.
imagine us having a big family outing right now,
So
but it
maybe
hasn't.
maybe you guys could consider just okay, y'all come together as the two adults in the household. He knows what his son like, what your kids like, and y'all can come together and say, okay, well, this is what we're gonna cook for dinner. What would you like for dinner? What's his favorite meal? That you can cook for the son. What's your son's favorite meal? And say, okay, my kids eat that as well, and try and cook that to try to build that bond. So be a family. Maybe play like after dinner, do family games, or at the table do family games, or whatever. Like different things in order to like help build the relationships that you guys want to have,
Yeah,
but not so much at this time giving the kids a choice, because they're all kind of feeling some type of way. Say one day, all right, everybody get dressed by this time, and you know when they get dressed, take them somewhere, some like to the park or something that they, oh, I wonder where we're going. And then y'all get there and it's like stuff you might have water guns for them, or, like the balloons and stuff. Y'all go have like a family event where you guys are actually having fun and interacting with each other so they can see, oh, these people aren't so bad. Like they want to have fun with us, and just build that relationship. but giving them
Right.
those options, you know, when they are still young and they're still like having these jealous tendencies, you know, with you guys moving in together, you know, just trying to smooth that over with the kids, you guys working as a team, you and your boyfriend, you know.
Right.
Mhm. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it can work. But with my son being 5, it's kind of like a struggle right now because I heard him screaming a little while ago. So
Mhm.
him and his son don't really get along too well. So that's going to be
Mhm.
a really hard thing right now. He's only 5, so
Mhm.
everything is just his way or no way. And then if it's not, he screams. So that's the really temperamental part about all this. It's just really hard right now for
Mhm.
everybody. That's what they were up doing Monday night, is fighting and him screaming and crying and leave me alone. And it's rough right now. So
And they have some games that, you know, are from like 5 to 12 years old, where y'all can do it, and maybe just Google some games and things that you guys can do where everybody can play. And you know, with that too, they'll learn how to take turns, you know.
yeah,
And it's not always about you. It could be about the next person, and then mommy's gonna get a turn, and then dad's gonna get a turn. You know, everybody's gonna get a turn. So we're learning different skills at the same time. We're learning how to interact with one another. We're learning how to play with one another. We're learning how to share, you know, and all of that just builds on top of each other. And then you guys have that family, y'all building that foundation without them really knowing it, you know.
right.
So would that be some things that you would consider doing?
Yeah, I'll try if he'll sit still. He just doesn't. But yeah, I'll try.
Okay. So, um, you know, coming up with the game plan, or, you know, what you're going to do as far as we talked about team building, you know, you still have uh, everything that you're dealing with when it comes to your ex. And, you know, you want to take into consideration that, you know, if he's not, you know, in the picture in the long run, your new boyfriend may also play that role at some point. You know, the kids are going to look for that. They're going to seek to have that parent in their life. So building this foundation right now can be very, very important, you know.
Right.
So you guys, you know, should consider working together really hard as a team, because at some point it's going to be like a real impact on the kids.
Yeah, I know.
So,
That's
you know,
been weighing on my mind.
having those arguments, and, you know, those family meetings that may not be working, you know, once, or if it happens to where the dad's not in the picture, you know, you don't want it to turn out to where the kids are like, you know, you're not my dad, you know.
Hmm.
So this is something that you may want to consider um dealing with like immediately, because with what you said, you don't know if, you know, he's going to be around for another week or
Right.
whatnot. You know, that should be your main focus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been weighing on my mind a lot because it's even more crucial now than it has ever have been before.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So some things that we're going to work on moving forward are going to be, you know, trying to come up with a game plan for that. um main the main thing to you would be what?
Right now, focus on family and getting these kids to really. I'm not gonna say get along because it's not gonna happen overnight, but just getting them to understand the importance of family right now
Hmm.
because they really need each other. They're gonna need each other if
Correct.
you know.
Hmm. And just maybe, you know, having a better understanding of like their age differences and what they're all going through, because this is all new to everybody.
Mhm.
So team building, building that foundation, ensuring that you guys all have one another's back if anything would happen, because it's gonna affect everybody as a family.
Yeah.
Um, and it could, make or break you guys' relationship. So just
Right.
having a foundation in place will be something that you guys, could maybe really, really, really focus on right now.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that you can contact as far as support that you can talk to about anything else that's going on?
No, not necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Or would his mom be an option once y'all don't have a good relationship since everything ended?
I do, but she's so fragile right now.
Mm-hmm.
She's not. She wouldn't be somebody that I can lean on right now. Um, she had a stroke not that long ago, and
Mm-hmm.
she's not in the right place to deal with something like this. That's why I was afraid of him telling her. She wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if it killed her. So
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Shannon, I know that you did express a lot during this session, and I know that all of this stuff is weighing on you, and it's really some heavy things that you are dealing with.
mhm.
Um, I just want you to know, if you need to contact me, you can contact me about anything. If you would like to talk, if you want to come in for an extra session a week, that's perfectly fine, because we have a lot of things that you can be working on right now. And, I don't want you to feel like you're alone, like you don't have anybody, because you said that you didn't have anybody else that you could talk to,
Yeah.
so feel free to contact me if
Give me
need
two
be.
minutes.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Do you have anything else for me, Shannon?
that's it.
All righty. Well, I will see you next week.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right.